Today is going to be a great day. I am Nikki G, your host. Welcome to the Lone Doctrine, the food for thought exploration station, and your place in making today better than yesterday. This month, we've been focusing on the importance of taking action and creating a lifestyle that will consistently support your mental well-being. The Lone Doctrine is your exploration station, a place to explore a wide spectrum of life's food for thought so you can make this one and only life the best life. The world contains seeds of greatness, and with that, today I'd like to share with you how to rewrite self-destructive patterns by becoming who you are. In a perfect world, we'd all be able to make the switch with very little effort. After all, it's just a question of remembering, right? The problem is, these behaviors are often deeply entrenched. They've been there for years. Some of these self-destructive habits are not even conscious, and it's pretty hard to change something you're not even aware of yet. What's really important to remember is that it is only part of our personality that is prompting these self-destructive behaviors. It's not representative of each of us as a whole. After all, there's also another part of us that doesn't want us to act these behaviors out, right? The transition from self-hurting to self-caring can be broken down into several steps. Step 1. Becoming aware of what the self-destructive behaviors are. Sometimes they'll be obvious. Sometimes they'll present themselves in a form of things we want to change, and sometimes they won't be clear to us at all. This step is most useful for behaviors in the second and third categories. For instance, perhaps we want to change our sleeping patterns, stop procrastinating at work, or lose some excess weight. Thinking back to times when we've deliberately stayed up late, found ourselves putting off an important project, or eating unhealthy, think about the feelings that were around at the time. Even better, try and separate the thoughts from the feelings underneath and make a list of both. This will help raise awareness of what feelings triggered a self-destructive behavior. Step 2. Noticing how we feel when we're acting on these behaviors and what sort of relief they bring. So we've got our trigger emotions. Now it's time to look at why we choose these particular behaviors to alleviate these feelings. Think back to the thought process that occurs when the uncomfortable feeling comes up. What part is telling us to bite our nails, to light up, or go out shopping? Try and feel that part right now and ask it why it thinks those activities will help. If it doesn't have an answer, that's okay. Keep going back to it tomorrow, the next day, and if you can, the next time it asks you to act out a behavior you noticed in step 1, it might not respond immediately, but keep trying. Number 3, identifying the triggers, if that's possible at this point. Go back again to the last time you can remember these behaviors coming up. You know how you felt and the thought process that led you to the behavior. Now think about the real life events that occurred before this. At what exact moment did the uncomfortable feelings come up? What happened immediately before that? What were you thinking about at the time? The trigger could have been something obvious, like an argument, or it could have been subtle. Maybe you were thinking about a conversation you'd had earlier that day or felt uncomfortable about the way someone looked at you or spoke to you. Triggers can seem insignificant, and in the context of the day, they might be. However, there is a reason they provoked uncomfortable emotions, whether it is to do with the immediate situation or with history. Once we know what they are, we're less likely to act on them in the future. Number 4, identifying another action you can do that is related to the first action, but self-caring. Simply stopping a behavior is hard work. Anyone who can do this deserves a superhero medal. Instead, replacing the behavior with something more beneficial is a more realistic way of giving ourselves a chance to rewrite a pattern. We can do this by focusing on a positive activity that is related to the self-destructive behavior we were engaging in before. For instance, we can switch cigarettes for a cup of tea. You still get to make something, hold something, and ingest something. The pattern is basically the same, except tea is way better for you. And number 5, starting to change the pattern. None of this stuff happens overnight. Change can be slow, and it's frustrating to wait, especially when we know we're engaging in the unhealthy behaviors. There's no point in beating ourselves up about the fact that we haven't switched the behavior yet, because that's only going to prevent us from doing it in the future. To begin with, it's easier to start changing patterns in retrospect. For example, if you find yourself lighting up or biting your nails without thinking, that's okay. We can just stop, become aware of how we're feeling, and start engaging in the positive counterpart. It's the small steps that count and the little actions we take that create a compound effect that is the ultimate pivot towards betterment. Life is ever changing, and as mentioned in this exploration, we can take the small steps, take a moment to step back, and recognize the small windows of opportunity which we might have once seen as challenges, difficulties, or negativity, and turn it into opportunity. We'd love to hear your takeaways from today's episode, so please join us on our Facebook page, Instagram, even tweet us on Twitter at Lone Doctrine, and let's start creating the change for a better tomorrow together. Until next time, keep fighting the good fight.
It's